You're recording.
Okay, thanks. All right, I'd like to call to order the April 27th, 2022 workshop. Let's do a roll call, please.
Mayor Preden?
I'm here.
Council President Conley?
Here.
Councilor Blum?
Here.
Councilor Letts?
Here.
Councilor Ross?
Present. All right, I guess first thing I need to do is remind everybody to turn their cell phones off. Just kidding. It's all good. First item on the agenda is, Deschutes County Sheriff's Office update. Lieutenant Davis, good to see you. Come on up.
So today, just at 3 o'clock today, we had a joint meeting between Corey, myself, U.S. Forest Service here in Sisters, and both David Fox and Jeremy Wilden, who are part of the Deschutes County Homeless Outreach Team. It was a good meeting, exchanged a lot of good ideas, started to talk about the referral process of how when we deal with someone that's houseless out in the forest, how to make that connection between ourselves and or David, who is our local representative. He's going to be working 2 days a week, which is Tuesdays and Wednesdays here in Sisters Country, and then he'll be in La Pine the other 2 days of the week that he's working. And so a lot of good ideas exchanged about dealing with fire prevention and outreach and kind of the services that they have available to our houseless community. And I think it's going to be a great program, great investment from the county's perspective. Piggybacking on that, we're going to be coordinating with Forest Service doing a cleanup on May 4th, which is, I believe, next Wednesday. Our county Sheriff's Office work crew will be out assisting the Forest Service and going and doing some cleanups outside the city, but out on the forest as well. And we have our bike patrol class coming up on May 11th. We'll be getting some more people certified so that we can be ready for our events this summer. Rodeo coming up, being our first, and that's really all I have.
Fantastic. I just assume everybody got the packet, right? Got to look at it. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
Hey, was happy as I crossed the street yesterday and somebody blew through the crosswalk while I was still in it, and there was a gentleman in a patrol truck who happened to be parked right there and lit her up and pulled her over, and I was very happy about that.
Yeah. She did a dance in the middle of the road.
I heard about this. Yeah, it was kind of a close call. So we've been paying particular attention to that area.
Pretty bold, considering there were 2 patrol vehicles parked at that intersection. So,
Yeah.
So I appreciated that. Thank you.
Yes, awesome.
Well, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Well, thanks for working with the homeless situation. Well, that's just, it's not an easy one. And thank you for helping in any way you can. We appreciate that.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks. Be safe out there. All right. Next item on the agenda is the discussion of the Chamber of Commerce requests. And it says Corey's name, but I think we're all aware of it.
You can pass it over to me if you'd like for a moment.
Sure.
Yeah, and then I know pass back to you, and you can invite them up for a little bit of presentation as well. So as council, as you all know, we are heading towards and currently working on the logistics for creation of a new nonprofit that will serve as the destination management organization for Sisters Country. And that organization will be predominantly funded by transient lodging tax. And we've had a long-standing relationship with the Chamber of Commerce to act as the DMO over the decades up to this point. And one of the conversations that we need to have as we look out over the next 6 months and beyond into the rest of 2022 is the conversation around the existing Chamber of Commerce contract that currently expires June 30th. The timeline for the new organization, ideally, and we're on track for this, is being created this summer, perhaps in June. And then there will be several months of doing an executive director recruitment and actually getting that organization staffed and operational. So the target date is October at this point. And so in conversations with the chamber up to this point. I know we've had Mayor Prieden and Council President Conley and I have had a couple meetings with the chamber, first in March and then in April, and we've had some dialogue to get to this point. But the goal, not necessarily tonight, but definitely heading into early next month for everyone's sake, is to understand what type of support for that during that transition for the chamber will occur, so that we can then memorialize an agreement and council can approve that ideally in May, so that again there can be as much heads up and awareness about where we're heading and what that looks like. So that's sort of the bare bones of the backstory and where we're at. And then I'm available to answer any questions as well. But back to you and back to what they provided us.
Okay, well, thank you all for coming. And I understand you wanted to talk for a minute before we kind of started our discussion. Is that right? Who wants to do that? State your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Victoria Graves. Do you really want my address?
No, that's what we do for visitors, visitor communications at the regular meetings. Sorry, okay. That was kind of a joke. So.
Thank you for inviting us up here. Mr.
Yeah.
Mayor, Madam President, councilors. It has been our honor to serve the City of Sisters as the destination marketing organization for the past 8 years. And I think we've done a phenomenal job. And we're very proud of what we've accomplished. But the City of Sisters is moving into a new era and has chosen to create a new DMO. Therefore, on July 1st, the Sisters Area Chamber of Commerce will revert to operating solely as a traditional chamber and continue to support and promote the local business community. But in order to facilitate a smooth transition, we have some immediate goals. The first is that we feel it is vital, absolutely vital, to honor our existing marketing contracts. In order to maintain the integrity the chamber has garnered in this community. These contracts will help carry Sisters into the 2022-2023 shoulder season and will benefit local business and the community as a whole. Also, we are currently looking for another suitable office space in the downtown area to provide a more affordable building lease for the future, as it will not require operating the visitor center. However, in the meantime, we do need the current space in order to conduct daily chamber business and to begin our strategic planning for our business model transition. We also feel that maintaining the visitor center through the busy tourist season will benefit the city, the businesses, our visitors, and the new DMO. The chamber would be open to sharing the current space with the newly forming DMO, providing continuity, historical knowledge, which is crucial, and support for the visitors, the city, and the DMO. And knowing that the new DMO will require time to get off the ground, we would like to offer any assistance required to facilitate a smooth transition and reduce any gaps in the advertising for our business community. In order to fulfill our contract obligations to ensure advertising continuity and transition back to our historical role, on behalf of the Sisters business community, we are respectfully requesting that the City of Sisters consider contracting with the chamber for one of the following options. Our first option, the chamber will continue to operate the visitor center from July through December 2022, and we will put on the annual holiday events consisting of the Christmas parade, tree lighting ceremony, and our visit with Santa, and honor our marketing contracts, ensuring that we have shoulder season advertising. This option requires remaining in the current building until December 31st, and the cost is $121,079. Second option, the chamber would continue to operate the visitor center July through December and honor our marketing contracts, ensuring that we have shoulder season advertising. This option also requires remaining in our current location until December 31st, and that bid is $77,496. The third option, or another option, the chamber would continue to operate the visitor center from July through October 2022 and honor our marketing contracts, ensuring shoulder season advertising. This option requires remaining in the current building until October 31st, because staying in the building through October allows us the ability to manage and support the many shoulder season events that we have going on through October. And that bid is $65,025. We did include a breakdown of our various proposals for your consideration in the packet that we sent you on Friday. And aside from the services addressed in this contract proposal, we do look forward to a future conversation with the city addressing the grant from the general fund to assist the chamber in supporting the local business community and support strategic planning to execute the chamber's transition. And that was referenced in the city's response to our letter dated the 7th of April. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Tori, were you gonna say anything?
I came up to answer questions.
Okay.
If you guys have any questions, or if you'd rather do it in a group forum, or.
I don't know yet, so I think what we'll do is I'll start opening the discussion up and we'll talk amongst ourselves. And I think that it's okay, because you're guests here on this particular topic, for us to maybe do some back and forth if anybody has any questions while they're talking, I guess.
Okay.
Okay.
Would
All
you
right.
like us to remain here or?
Probably not, just so you know, because it might be awkward for you standing there for, it's gonna be 45 minutes, so.
Let's stay in the building.
Yeah, stay in the building if you don't mind, yeah. But because we have people up here on Zoom, if you are asked a question, you will have to come back to the microphone, just so you know, so everybody can hear. Thank you so much. Well, this is a topic we've been talking a lot about lately, especially Nancy and I have been in a few meetings with the chamber. First of all, I want to tell you guys, this is the best document we've gotten. So this is concise, but it has the right amount of information. So I really appreciate it myself, just because it's boiled down enough that I can figure it out now. And 3 options is fantastic, because then it's kind of a little bit of a menu thing, and we can all discuss it a little more easily, especially at this late stage. It's kind of, we're trying to get to a point where we can figure out what the final option is. So thank you for that. I appreciate all the hard work that was put into that, and in the past as well, but this is the best one for sure. Because Nancy and I have been in this conversation a lot with you guys, I don't know a lot about what these 3 want to talk about. So I want to start with you guys first, and I'm just going to pick Gary. So you're going to hit lead off, and
I'll start, but I'm gonna probably have comments as we move along.
sure.
I'm not enamored with what I see in front of me, and I'm gonna be very direct about that. The first I saw budget was in the April 8th memo. I went through the budget looking at what I thought was TLT stuff, because there wasn't a lot of information provided about where the dollars were going other than the advertising and things. And I tried to separate what I looked at as TLT related expenses, some of which are very clear in the advertising stuff, and that were chamber expenses. And I came up with my first push through that there was roughly, with this budget, if everything and all the contracts were honored, there was still going to be about $60,000 of TLT funds left that were uncommitted, that I couldn't determine what they were being used for. And that's a concern to me, because if I can't determine how they're being used, are they being used for DMO type activities, or are they somehow supporting the activities of the chamber? So I need to be clear about that. That's a concern I have. And that may be an accurate concern, but that's based on the information provided. Now, if I go through and I look a little more as I did today, there are some other areas where some percentage of things might be TLT related, but even at that, I get it down to about 32.9. And you have to understand that some of the expenses are shown, FTE, operations, contract services, I have to make a decision because nothing's provided. But what percentage of that is TLT and what percentage of that is benefiting the chamber membership? And I haven't got a problem with it. I like chambers, but that's your job. Your job is to benefit the business community, but the TLT dollars are very clearly directed towards the DMO type operations. And so that's a concern for me. As an elected official, it's also a concern for me as a person who has to go out and look some businesses in the face and say, well, when I look at the chamber website, I don't see your business on there. You're a hotel and you're not on there. But you pay TLT dollars. You're a bed and breakfast, but you're not on there. You pay TLT dollars. When I go to visit Sisters Country, I don't find you under those options. So that's a concern. And that's a concern that moving forward, if we do something here, I expect to see fully addressed, whether they're chamber members or not. The Visit Sisters Country part of that webpage is for all businesses in the community so that our patrons who come here can find them, and especially those that pay TLT. So that's a start for me. I have other thoughts, but I kind of want to hear from the rest and I'll go from there.
Okay. Thanks for that. Andrea, do you want to?
I have definitely been relying on you guys to be able to sort all this out. Because I have, from the very minute I got on council, that was one of the things that I was concerned about when I heard about transient lodging taxes, and finally got it through my head from Joe exactly how that all worked, was that I had never really been able to see that the funding, that funding was not commingled with other funding, and that it was exclusively spent on what it was intended to be spent on. And I felt like it was our responsibility to make sure that when we gave funding out for the DMO work, that those dollars were exclusively used for that. I made, modest assumptions that I saw all kinds of work being done, and so I didn't believe that anybody was trying to be tricky about it. It just wasn't the funding wasn't kept separately that I could discern how exactly each dollar was being spent. So I was hoping that we could approach this in more of a let us pay for the final contracts that still need to be done and that have been obligated from this funding, and let us come to a date by which we can separate from the existing facility, and then agree upon a fixed amount that could be used for transitioning for the chamber to a different type of business, as opposed to figuring, because I don't know that we're ever going to get there.
Yep.
Figuring out, well, this dollar goes here, this dollar goes
Exactly.
here, this person is split and does 1/4 time here and 1/3 time. That whole thing is above my pay grade for sure. So I was hoping to be able to come up with a much simpler solution, but you guys have been in most of the meetings, and so it's been, I've been hoping that you could give me some counsel on the way that this would work the best, because it's not, it's real hard to pick and choose amongst the activities. This makes it look like if we don't go one way, there won't be any holiday events. So you're not planning on doing any of the holiday events unless we pick that particular scenario, please.
If you don't mind,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I can just bring this down.
So, I don't want to be the
Mr.
Grinch
Microphone.
that destroys Christmas, for sure.
Yeah.
I'll address the holiday events first. We are happy to put on the holiday events, but it's part of our budget, and that's why we've included it. don't make money, they definitely cost money. And I'm always happy to sit with anybody and go through line by line financial statements if that's what somebody wants. And that's the same with the TRT. The way the TRT is prorated, it's calculated at the end of the year and done in a journal entry. We right now do not have any restricted funds left. We use the restricted funds appropriately every year, and we don't have any sitting in restricted funds. It's prorated under wages, facilities, operations, and the such. You know, it doesn't include any membership expenses. And I've sat down with my CPA many times to say, this is appropriate, this is appropriate, this is how it should be. And we do my journal entry with my CPA. It's not just me, it's not just us. That's been done many times. And I'm 100%, my books are open. I can bring them here. I can sit down with somebody. I'm happy to do that. It's just, you guys wanted something simple to look at. And that's what I was trying to do. And I am happy to show my proration calculations. They are absolutely appropriate for what we do. There's no way that we can't commingle some of those funds, because it's not like it's commingled, it's prorated. But we operate the visitor center, we operate the chamber, and we do the DMO. That's a few different hats that we operate under the same facility. That means the facilities are going to be prorated. That's just the way it is. I mean, the DMO that is going to be formed is going to have facilities and wages and operations. So that's all part of it. And I think that with us, it's been actually a great deal to have it prorated, because then that makes it cheaper for all three things. And in the past, we've had 4 employees. We do it with 3 now. We do a lot of work for 3 staff members. So I'm open, my books are open. I can go through line by line anytime anybody wants that. Have I addressed that?
Well, I think that you've addressed it, and I don't want to say this. I needed this information 2 months ago, not now, because we're at a decision point. So I had to make decision based on what was provided to me. I understand what you're saying, and I want you to understand, I'm not questioning how you do this or whether or not your books are clean or those things. That's what this is about. You said, as a decision maker, I couldn't determine. And so as I look at your proposal for today, I have to kind of know where funds are. For instance, I allocated 100% of the advertising budget to the TLT because I believe that's where it's gone. So, you know, that covers all the expenses that you showed on here. So no issue. It's in the other areas that it gets real gray, as you say, staffing, operations. We provide a reduced rent significantly below market value to accommodate the fact that it's the DMO and it's the visitor center. So that's a hard one for me to prorate back in, because I think we've already covered it with the reductions that we provide in the facility. So, but please, I think you're thinking I'm questioning whether or not you guys are being clean and above board. I'm not saying that at all. I think you are. It's just that I can't see it in what I have. And to sit down now and go through it probably is a little late, because we're at a decision process at this point. And I've got to make a decision based on what I have here. That's kind of where I am right now. That if this carries on, happily sit down. But I don't want to waste your time if we've already come to the conclusion of where we're going to go.
And I want to reiterate as well that we wouldn't have continued the agreements year after year if we thought there was any hanky-panky going on.
That's right.
It's just seeing an equitable transition and how to make that work so that everybody comes out of it stronger is the goal. It's just hard. and I'm sure that none of us really want to go through the minutia of, I've already done that with SDC rates and systems development charges, how you figure all of that stuff. So I know how complicated that is, and I'm not questioning at all that, but
And the other thing we talked about at our meeting was our meeting rules as counselors. It just makes it hard because you can meet with two of us, but you can't meet with all of us, except in this public forum. So that's why you're gonna hear things again from some of the people, the counselors that weren't at the regular meetings that we had with you guys, so. And the other thing I'll say is, you're gonna hear from us as well, but I kind of wanted to give you guys first shot at it, and then we're gonna say what we think, because we were at the meetings and have maybe a little more insight, and then we can all get back to it and have one more kind of go around and see if we're in some common ground about where we're gonna go from here. But until then, Jennifer hasn't said a word yet, so I want to give her a shot, and then Nancy and I will go, okay? Does that make sense?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
So I think my input here is going to be that I'm okay with extending the contract through September 30th, and that would be the drop dead date. I picked that for a number of reasons. One is that we're hoping to have a new DMO director on in October. Maybe that's a little aggressive, but that's kind of our timeline of having somebody come on board. And when there is, it's a simple landlord-tenant kind of situation where when a building is being vacated, there's just a lot of work that needs to be done, deferred maintenance, cleaning, switching over utilities, all those kind of things, which is going to take, our staff some time to accomplish. And I don't want that occurring while, your group is still in there. I don't want that occurring while our new organization is trying to stand up. So we have to factor in that buffer time of getting the facility to a state that the new organization can function in well. So that's kind of why I picked that date. The second is that a wise man told me that when two entities need to separate, go their separate ways, the sooner you can do that, the better. Not drawing out a process doesn't help anybody. And I see that as a little bit hobbling the chamber's organization if we draw this out past September 30th. I think your services could be well used until that point to get us through the summer season. But beyond that, you obviously have said that you need to do a lot of strategic planning, inward reflection, what Chamber 2.0 is going to look like. And I'm really excited to see what that's going to look like. And I just want that process to get started as soon as possible. And if we can get the DMO activities off of your to-do list, and you can focus on the future of the chamber and bringing on more members and hosting more events or networking events or something, and really doubling down on that business side, I think that's going to be really exciting. But I don't see drawing out this process and kind of juggling the two. It's a heavy lift, and I see this as an opportunity for us to the city, and then passing it on to the DMO to get to work on that, and then an opportunity for the chamber to refine what the chamber of the future is going to look like. And like I said, we're all really excited to see what that's going to look like, because a community like this, a chamber, is really critical. If we do extend the contract past the current contract that ends June 30th, I have some asks that will be, I'd like to see included in the contract. And that is some clarification on some services provided with the TLT funds. I would like at least some clarity and some communication between exactly what visitor staffing is going to look like, hours of operation, services provided, that kind of thing. It's been a bumpy road the last few years with COVID, and knock on wood, this is going to be a normal season and we can operate normally. So I would just like some clarity on that. And then as Councilor Ross alluded to, I've been looking through the Sisters Country website, and yeah, I know it's a new website, and it looks really great, but I do see a lot of holes in it that I would really like to see patched before we enter into a new contract, including, really comprehensive listing of all of the service providers in our community on the tourism facing side, like all of our restaurants. I would see a lot of food establishments missing off of the list. And I don't know why that is. But our restaurant owners have gone through hell the last 2 years, and anything we can do to soften that process and get them back on their feet, I think needs to be done. And that includes adding more information on the website, because I see logos and click-throughs, but I don't see the description of the restaurant, the hours of operation, whether they have outdoor seating, because that's important to a lot of people right now. I want a visitor to be able to come land on your page when they've got like 3 kids and 2 grandparents and everybody's hungry and they're trying to find a place to eat. I want it to be kind of one-stop shopping. I think that's really something that is not a big ask. And so just, a few more lines of text on each one of those so people can just skim through and say, oh, this is open today. They have outdoor seating, they do takeout, they have this gluten-free, whatever. So grandpa's happy. So let's go there. So I'd just like to see that beefed up. And the same thing on the events side, I didn't find anything on there of like anything going on at like the Belfry or Hardtails or anything like that. I know they have a lot of music events coming up this season. So I know people look for that. And also on the lodging, as Councilor Ross mentioned, there were some lodging providers that were not listed. And that made me really nervous because they carry the burden of collecting these funds for the whole community. And it does impact their business in the respect that when people are looking for a place to stay and they have to pay an extra tax, and that they factor that in. I know I do. I travel a lot, and that's, every dollar counts, especially right now, with inflation. So, I want to make sure that they feel like they're being, well represented for the extra work that they have to do for our community. So I think that is it. So just to round that up, my vote is just, end the contract September 30th, and just to make sure that I think the website and some resources are beefed up in the new contract, which I don't think is a heavy lift.
Okay. Thanks. You want to go?
It's me.
It's time.
Yes. So just like we asked last week for you guys to keep your submission simple, I'm going to try to keep my response simple. And I thank you for the information you sent over. It was very easy to understand. I thought it made sense sequentially for me and budget-wise to see the breakdown. I do want to backtrack 8 years ago when I started on council. Council and the contract that we had was a completely different beast. The city itself was a different beast. We weren't as educated, mature, prepared as we are now. And this is part of our growing pains in establishing the DMO and looking in more detail at this contract. The Sheriff's Department is here. They can vouch for the process. We went through their contracts a couple years ago. And so it's time for council to take on this huge contract. $16,666 a month is huge. So thank you for being supportive of us as we go through this process of making sure that we are being good stewards of the dollars. So with that said, I thought option number 3 was very simple and easy to understand. And that was with it ending in October, paying off all the current media buys that you have in place. I think that we do need to honor those, not just for goodwill, but we do need that carryover the shoulder season. I'm kind of with Jennifer about sooner on the building would be better, but I understand the need for you to be there, or the want for you to be there during Harvest Fair and Folk Festival going on. So I don't have a hard time with that. I think the building is in pretty good shape. We did some work, I'm gonna say 4 years ago, a new floor, paint job. I don't remember what else was in that budget. And I should have asked Paul to refresh my memory. So I'm flexible on that. I want to say, I think that's it. And the holiday events, I think there's still time for the community, someone else in the community, your organization to work that piece out. And so that's, to me, is not a deal breaker that there's not a holiday celebration planned right now. So that's the least of my worries. And that's it.
Okay. But that doesn't mean we're not gonna have a holiday thing. We're gonna have one. And we'll figure out some of the details on that between us all, I think. I think that that's the smart way to go on that. Much like Nancy, I've been in all the meetings, and it's been fun but tough at the same time, because we're talking about people. We're talking a lot about money, but sometimes we talk too much about money. We're not talking about people enough. There's 3 people that work is it 3 full-time units? And that's, that's 3 people of our community that obviously need the work or want to do the work, and they're doing work. And it's been very important. It's gotten us to the point where we could even consider doing something else, which I think is fantastic. The town's grown up. Yes, Nancy's exactly right on all of that. It's been a long way to get here, and we're going to go this direction. So what I want to do as mayor and as a counselor representing my community is make sure that the DMO that's coming is going to succeed. But equally as important, it's important for you guys to succeed too. So I am on board I like option number 3 as well. I want to get you through your shoulder season events and have the building till October. I like option 3 very much. I think it's the most prudent. I do agree with these guys on a few things. I kind of like what Jennifer said about a clean break. Obviously, it sometimes hurts a little, but sometimes it's a little better too, because it's just like you get to a point and then it's just like, okay, let's move to the next thing. And for me, the next thing with you guys is supporting you in a different way, in some manner, and I don't know what that is yet. And then helping you get a strategic plan so you guys can succeed in the future. Because nobody wants you guys to flop. We don't like that you have to worry about your hours. That's not fun for us to say, oh, look, the chamber has to reduce hours of employees. We don't like that either, just so you know. But it also has to be done in some manner. And at some point, you guys are gonna go off and do the chamber stuff, and obviously the TLT won't be there with you anymore. So, but we want you to be able to trust us and come to us and still be a partner in the community. We're not breaking up. We're just stopping what we're doing now, right? So what I see, Jennifer's kind of got her September 30 date. I'm going to call that option 4, just so everybody kind of has an idea that there's a little level below the option 3. I understand why you're doing it. I appreciate your opinion on that. I like the option 4. I want to help the chamber get through those last 2 bigger events. One of them is yours. One of them is the folk festival. So I'm okay with that. The one thing I want to talk to you guys about as fellow counselors is it'd be nice to get a head nod today, but it's not absolutely necessary. If we can't come to an agreement going forward, if you need more time to digest some of this, if you want to get more information, you can. I mean, we do want to wrap this up soon so everybody knows what's going on. But again, you guys have to decide for yourselves what you guys think about the options. If you need more information about some of the breakdown of the money, we've been working with these guys for a long time. I have always had some concerns about it just because I don't know how the books work, and you're an accounting type person, and it's an accounting type thing. I don't understand it. I'll be honest with you. And so when you talk about what was that term you used?
Allocation?
Yeah, one of those words where you say it's part of this and it's part of that. I understand. Prorated, that was the word. So I understand it in a high level, but I don't understand it obviously to the net and how I know there's tax implications and there's money implications. I get, I understand that, but I honestly don't understand it all and how and I obviously don't know best practices about how to explain it to somebody else. So what I'm saying is, I don't know how to make it easier for you to explain it to us who aren't accounting types. It's hard. It's just difficult stuff.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I didn't want to interrupt you. I just had two points of
No, go ahead.
clarification. So you're actively looking for a different office. So worst case scenario is you find nothing and you say, we'll be out, worst case scenario, by the end of October from the chamber building. But you're actively looking for something. So there might be a way to address Jennifer's concern that you're looking for something.
Right, you might find something fantastic and want to leave earlier too, so I think we need to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Too.
And the second piece is our fiscal year is different than yours, so we end June 30th. And so the contract going forward, whether it's option 1, 2, or 3,
Or 4.
I think some of those contract concerns could be written into the new short-term contract, correct? If Jennifer, if the concern is what hours are you going to be open as the visitor center? That could be written into the contract. Yes, no?
Yeah, of course. So the plan will be to do a whole new a one-time grant agreement. So the existing contract will expire, but we will, to some effect, adopt a new contract prior to then that'll take effect July 1. And we can use the existing contract as a template to some extent, but to your point, we could add in other language as necessary.
Okay. And then my last thought that I said I was going to keep it simple and forgot is that really this breaks down to $4,150 a week in transient lodging tax based on the current funding.
Yep.
And that is a lot of money, but the DMO also needs funds to get up and running. And so it's not that we want you to be cut off and fail, but we have to be conscientious of the new nonprofit that benefits every business downtown, not just chamber members, if that makes sense. It's everyone gets a DMO, you don't have to join. And so that's the rub that we have. We would love to do 2, 3, 5, 12 organizations, but we can only do one. And the DMO needs a part of those funds to go. So don't take it personally.
Yep.
All right, that was my simple.
That was pretty simple.
A comment, Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
which may muddy the waters of
This is
your.
a discussion. So please feel free.
I'm kind of in the same boat that Jennifer's in. However, let me make a couple of comments. Basically, the contract extended through September or October, to pick your day, is going to be that 16,600, interesting number, 16,600, whatever that number is per month for the DMO.
No, it doesn't need to be.
Well, no, but I'm just assuming, I'm working with the numbers we have now, let's assume it stays that way. That, when I look at the option 3, if you take that times 4, that's almost exactly what the option 3 comes out to, actually a little bit less. Where I am on the building is in a little different space. I think that the sooner we get the building, the better off the new organization will be, and frankly, the better off you'll be. Even though I know we put money into it and we did things, there's just things that have to be done. Cleaning out and inventorying what's still there, determining what's there for the new organization, providing material that the new organization needs, all that kind of stuff. So I would probably be at the September 30 with the potential for contract extension an additional month should we not need the building until the end of October. That's where I would be. So that's option 5.
I hate to muddy the waters more, but no. There has been talk between us in some of our meetings, and we haven't talked about it tonight, is sharing the building. Did we decide that wasn't easy to do, or did we not decide anything about that?
We didn't decide at all. It was in the letter that we received.
I mean, is that, so I'm just gonna throw it out there. Is that something that you guys think could be done, or is the building not big enough for that?
I think it could be done for sure. You know, we could meet with them and see if they thought that that could be done as well.
I mean, and go ahead, did you have something?
Well, I was just gonna say, one of the things that we talked about as it relates to the building, and whether this is with the building as the home for the new DMO, whether it's thinking about the building in relation to First Street Park as an amenity, whether it's thinking about the building as a visitor center or not, kind of the thought process was letting the new organization occupy the building and then assess and essentially make a recommendation to council about, hey, this is what we think makes sense, or this is what we think is feasible at that point, but not trying to crystal ball that too far ahead of time.
Sure.
I think council had thoughts on that.
Yeah, I'd done this in a previous job, kind of shared space. It's never comfortable for anybody. I understand the thought. I mean, for instance, excuse me, do we move everybody out of their office and make you sit in the middle of the room while the new people get the office? I mean, there's all these sorts of little wiggledy things that I'd prefer not to have to do. See, I'm all choked up. I'd prefer not to have to do. I mean, if it comes down to that, again, I think that can be a 23rd hour decision. Doesn't have to be a part of where we decide to go. I really think that for the benefit of everybody in this room, we need to make a decision as to which option is viable and acceptable to us.
Mhm.
I don't think kicking the can down the road another month is in anybody's benefit. Certainly not this council's benefit, certainly not their benefit. And then once we make that decision, do the best we can for all of us to make it work out for all of us. Boy. So again, I'm the option 5 guy, which is we set the 30th as a date. We all try to get to there. If it looks like they need more time, if it looks like we don't need the time, we can push it out an additional month. But that's how I would see it. I would see it as
September 30th.
September 30th.
With an option.
With
for
an
one
option
more month?
for extending if we don't need the building.
So it's
So not-
option 3.
So it's not sitting vacant and no.
Option 4B.
So it would be, basically the contract would be for roughly $50,000 between now and the end of September. That's the TLT money, assuming we don't change anything. If we were to extend it an additional month or some fraction of a month, it would either be the additional 1666 or some fraction of the 1666, 4,000 and some dollars a week that Nancy mentioned. And that's how I would see that happening. It may not make you guys comfortable to hear that, but I really think that the September 30 date just feels comfortable to me. It's the end of the heavy tourist season. I think that if we kind of put that out there, and that allows adequate time, May, June, July, August, September, to do the things that need to be done to ensure the chamber can be successful in moving forward with its events, and also with its member recruitment, because that's the time a lot of that happens, and also with finding another location. And so I just think kicking the can down the road further is not what I'm comfortable with. But I would consider an extension.
The one thing I'll say in defense of the chamber for that thinking is the Harvest Fair needs a place to have a headquarters where everybody comes in and does all that. And the option doesn't help, because if they don't know they have it until the last second, it's already way too late, right? Is that correct?
You want me to respond?
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, I'm asking you.
The Harvest Fair is second weekend in October.
Yeah.
That means that we'll be full on organizing, managing, planning the Harvest Fair. There's no way we can move at the end of September and still run the Harvest Fair. We'd have to just say, okay, we're gonna pay our rent till September and move out in July or August. I mean, that's what we'd have to do.
So, and I'm sympathetic to that, because like all of our events. I like that one too. So, but not only that, you guys need to have the opportunity to succeed and do that event. So that's why I'm for option 3, which is get you through October. And then after the Harvest Fair, those last 2 weeks will be crazy enough as it is to try and transition to your next phase. And that's essentially it. I mean, there's no other, I mean, if the Harvest Fair was still in September, wasn't it in September before?
It's always
Oh,
been
yeah.
that.
Oh, I'm thinking
It's
of the
always
Folk
been
Festival.
October.
Cold and snow,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep, it's always.
But anyway, so that's why I personally, option 3 is it for me, so.
Thank you.
I think we should each discuss with Corey our feelings of what's most important and kind of our bottom line. And then he can come with options 1 or 2 possibly, that takes into consideration his knowledge of how the DMO is going to progress, what they're going to need, and what room they're not, the things that we're sort of emotionally talking about, funds and dates and things like that, as opposed to how it's going to evolve at that point. I don't know, is there anything that we're not really discussing that should be discussed in this?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
I think that suggestion is good, and I think that using the remaining time, if there are any other questions for the folks from the chamber today, would be productive. And then if there's any other follow-up in the next week, I think that's reasonable. And then the May 11th council workshop, we could revisit this item and hopefully have a head nod, need a head nod at that point to then, draft. We can already get the draft agreement going. That won't take long to prep, and then we could have that, even on the May 25th agenda. So we do have some time. I think that just for everyone's sake, we're coming up on, in the next couple of weeks, we do need clarity. Doesn't need to be approved in the next couple of weeks, but clarity about what the expectations should be. So.
And I think we're almost there in reality. Everybody wants the transition to be amenable and to not create undue distress in any category. And yet, to make sure that we're doing what will make the DMO get off to the right start with, in the process, and not to restrain them. We need to get them going quickly and hit the ground running for sure. So, and I think we can do that. And I think we can nudge around a month or so, one way or the other, and come to something.
I disagree, because the whole concept of the DMO proposal is that once we establish the nonprofit and the executive director is hired, we sever all ties. We're no longer in charge of that organization.
That's correct.
And so they need to have a place to be housed. When that happens, they need a location. And the uncomfortableness I have with this is that we're putting ourselves in the position of not knowing where we're going to put them when that time happens. Now, yeah, it could be the chamber building with the chamber. That would be fine, but you already indicated, and rightly so, that the first 2 weeks of October are going to be chamber chaos because you're getting ready for your events, and I get that. So that's not a great time to drop the new DMO person into the middle of the mix. So I'm concerned about that. I'm very concerned about it. And I think that part of the discussion and decision is the timeline on the creation of the organization and the severing of the ties to this group. Because once that's done, it's done. We no longer, other than controlling funds, we have no say over what that group does. That's the whole concept of it. And, so that's my concern is that we keep pushing this down the road a little bit, and we're starting to bump up against hard deadlines for what it is we think we need to do to allow the organization to be successful. And I don't have an answer. I'm not even going to pretend I do. That's why that September 30 date keeps coming up to me, because We know we're bringing that person on around the beginning of October. That would be our hope. And having a base for that person to land, it can't be in City Hall because we severed that tie. At least I don't think it can. That becomes uncomfortable to me in terms of how we're saying this organization is going to operate independently of this council in this city. So we hire the person, we give them autonomy, and then we plop them into an office in the back of City Hall. That doesn't feel good to me. So we have to have a plan B if we decide to take option 3. We have to have a plan B. And that plan B is, where do we land this person? And I think maybe Judy's living room, but I think we have to have that plan. And so to get me to vote for option 3, you've got to convince me that we know what we're going to do
With that person.
with that person.
And that office.
That's my rub. It's got nothing to do with who's here in the room or what's going on. It has to do with wanting to be sure we ensure the success of the start of that organization on an even footing, and we send the message to whoever we hire that we're serious in what we say.
Right.
So that's my challenge to you, Corey.
Dun, dun, dun.
Don't you wish
No, I
I'd
think
stayed in the
it's a
hospital?
valid point, and I appreciate it.
Yeah.
No,
I really do.
I think the only twist I was going to put on that, and I think everything you said makes perfect sense, is that, you know, we know that the next 6 months are going to go pretty fast. We may be ahead of schedule.
Yeah.
Potentially. I mean, not by much, but maybe by 2 weeks or 4 weeks, who knows? And so I think the point about kind of an office and a landing spot makes sense, although in this day and age, you know, a little bit of, you know, work from home, transition, you know, in those first 4 to 8 weeks could be appropriate. Yep. And then if the board is meeting, you know, meeting in this room or a different community meeting space, whether it's the fire hall or whatnot, for a month or whatnot, could work. So point well taken. And I don't have a quick good answer for your question. So,
but you know, that's what I do to you anyway.
Does anybody have any questions while they're here?
No, I think that personally, you've made a good point in your case, and I want to be clear to you, Terry. I wasn't questioning your numbers. I was just saying that with the information, the simple that had been requested by these people, that I had to make guesses. And as a person who did budgeting in the public sector for 35 years of my job, guessing wasn't something that I normally did. It didn't go well.
Corey, is there something, I kind of agree with both of these people in that I don't want to kick the can down the road. Everybody wants a decision to know what, you know, the parameters are we're working with. But I think that there was a lot of interesting discussion tonight. And again, this is the only time we get to talk about some things. So I think we all have something to chew on. You know, I think I heard some really interesting things I want to chew on. Is there a way, like you said, May 11th is the next, is there a way that we can kind of get something, you know, in our one-on-ones or, you know, with our legal channels to get something so that we can kind of approve it in workshop and then have it ready to be voted on that night?
Probably not at this point.
Okay.
And, you know, I think the other factor is we've been considering the contract for DMO services and the building as sort of one decision. And in reality, they're going to be 2 different documents and 2 different decisions. So again, not to kick the can, but council could say, hey, we feel comfortable with this number of funds for the DMO contract extension, and, you know, we're going to decide at the same time on the building, or we're not going to decide on the same time at the building. I'm not saying that you should or shouldn't do that, but no, I think that realistically, we would need until the middle of next month, heading towards that second meeting in May, for those legal documents to be drafted. You know, we have the templates, but anyway.
Well, and you tried to quiet me when I started throwing numbers out, and so I will tell the audience very clearly that those were my numbers and not the numbers of the organization. These numbers may change. They are subject to change at any point in time. The contract will indicate what the numbers are going to be, and my comments should not be taken seriously when I mention numbers.
I am not a real doctor.
Nancy has one more comment and Judy has a comment. So who wants to go first?
Two, the holiday events, do you consider those tourist events or community events?
Tourists.
Tourist, okay. And is that based upon the people in attendance or the number of people lining the parade route that you go, man, everybody and sisters and their dog has to be here to make this parade route this crowded?
We advertise those on the I-5 market and in Bend and Redmond, so we can drive tourists to Sisters in the shoulder season and in the winter season. Those events are tourism events.
And then the last dang, where did it go?
And they have shown, I'm sorry, Nancy, a 200% increase in the shoulder season over a 5-year period. So room tax has gone up significantly over the 5 years due to advertising those events outside of Sisters.
And my last question is, after hearing this discussion tonight, are you all going to go back and look at option 1, 2, 3 and maybe offer something different with a sooner move out date? I don't know if that'll be part of the discussion that we have again later, or if we're just getting in too muddy of a water.
Yeah. So Judy Trigo, I'm the CEO for the Sisters Chamber of Commerce, and I wanted to let you guys know I appreciate you. I know these are tough discussions, and I appreciate you considering all of the options. We were asked to bring options to the City Council, and I know these are tough decisions, but I want you guys to all know that we are going to support whatever decision you make. We will not be bringing back another option for moving out of the building or, different lists or menus of what we can and can't do as the DMO, visitor center, or transitioning. Transitioning is a later conversation, but we are going to support whatever decision you make. We appreciate you taking the time and being thoughtful about making this decision. And we've appreciated working with you for the last 40 years. So I will close with that. And if you need any information from us, we're all available. Really appreciate it. And let us know what we can do to help with the transition. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. And we have some tough discussions coming up, and that's just that's how it is up here sometimes. So, but thanks for being here tonight. We got a lot more information out. We really needed this time and probably another 15 minutes, but we're okay. So thank you so much, and I'm gonna adjourn this workshop. We're gonna take about a 7-minute. All right, is everybody ready? All right, I'd like to call to order the 6:30 p.m. City Council regular meeting. It's Wednesday, April 27th, 2022. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody. Roll call, Carrie.
Mayor Preden,
I am here.
Council President Conley,
Here.
Councilor Lund,
Here.
Councilor Letts,
Here.
Councilor Ross.
Present?
Next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda.
Awesome.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
No dissension, that's great. Have a little business here. We have a proclamation. Today is the proclamation for 2022 Arbor Day. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday called Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world as well in the city of Sisters. And whereas trees are healthy for salmon and steelhead because they reduce the stormwater runoff and lower water temperature when planted near our creeks and rivers. And whereas ponderosa pines and other trees are a critical part of the unique character of Sisters. And whereas the city of Sisters has received Tree City USA status for 15 consecutive years. And whereas in honor of its Tree City USA status, the city has hosted an Arbor Day tree planting celebration with the Montessori preschool students at City Hall to inspire the next generation of stewards. Now, therefore, as mayor of the City of Sisters, I, Michael Preeton, hereby declare the 29th day of April 2022 to be Arbor Day in the City of Sisters. I urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to protect and plant trees to promote the well-being of this and future generations. And if you want to come on Friday, it's
10 o'clock.
10 a.m. here at City Hall. You get to see kids planting trees, and we will join them. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda.
Visitors communication.
Oh, visitors communication, excuse me. Sorry about that. Who do we have?
Michael, you are up first.
Michael, would you like to speak?
We'd like to go in the order that they were received, if you'd like to come up. Thank you.
And as you know, we try and stay at 3 minutes. I will be timing you, not because of you, but because we time all of our people. Thank you.
I be as small as possible. I was talking to the Mayor Michael Preeton beforehand. I gave him the phone number of mine and the other person. That is open to anyone. It has to happen. I already missed something this 2 weeks ago. That was important because of this. After last time speaking here 2 weeks ago, I sat down while you covered your agenda list. Perhaps I should not have. I made 2 short comments, not meaning to interfere. The first, in relation to the upgraded campground. I now rarely associate with the homeless, houseless, forest dwellers, etc., when in the past I did more often, including in the park, which is part of the campground by way of a bridge. Some would gather, and I would do what I do at all other locations. I would encourage to clean up if they are ones who may not be intending to. I also clean up around them, even if there was any mess as small as cigarette butts. This is not a morality thing for me. It's an embedded old behavior amongst many others, which should be a concern to you when modern progressive behavioralists do only the following when I've spoken to them. They will feed on me, perhaps when analyzing, and here at St. Charles, one blew up when I was being serious for what I was seeking. Speaking just like this, no more than this. Seeking beyond what I'm waiting for you to act on. And you and them would be a tangible sign by way of an unconditioned human act, which also, by the way, has nothing to do with random acts of kindness, as if or are living in a dollhouse. I'm a product for self-serving people. And if this were to make me schizophrenic, it would make a better path. You and your people also can take my ingrained activities, the ones you would consider good. And you could lose them. There was a rare and internally beautiful younger person who once worked in this town, now not living in Central Oregon, who a few years ago simply said, it's their loss. And perhaps you and some of your neighbors, your community, yes, even your country, might care, though it's only for behaviorally spoiled, mental, emotional, self-serving fulfillments. That's repulsive and diabolical to me. Does this make me mentally ill? My second short comment was made when Counselor Letz, I don't know how to pronounce it, I know it's Australian or German probably, was speaking on the dark sky directive for reducing glaring city lights. Relating it to emergency lights. It's something I'm conscious of personally at night with their potentially blinding and or confusing influence on other drivers, particularly the old and or those not staying consciously aware. I also have heard it on topic on call in talk radio in the past. My comments, it's okay if you didn't hear it properly, I didn't mean to interfere, was that the light can be tinted by lenses in better ways. That is limitedly practiced. This was heard on radio years past. The situation may be better now. Yes, you want people to be visibly alarmed, though some believe, as do I, properly advanced engineered tinted lenses should be well operable. Interestingly, last page, interestingly, I have tried using an emergency light for many, many years. Well tinted, then more clear, even sometimes blasting with loud sirens. Because if my natural dignified one does not bring attention for some active response down a long, dark highway, the heightened one is also needed to keep my sentient being from going permanently asleep on a very long drive. EMT is a good occupation, though there's much more to my living system required for survival than just bones, joints, arteries, organs, flesh, and blood. And you know it, or you know what it is. It may be you need to be transported to ER to be opened up to see if you have any guts. Check the heart too. Maybe it hasn't grown much since you were crawling on the rug. Just please don't tell the doctors I recommended this internal inspection. They will call me schizophrenic. And it's really important what I'm looking for.
Thank you, Michael. All right, we have more visitor communication.
We do. Wade Underwood, please.
Name and address.
Please, thank you. Curtis.
Hi, Wade. Name and address, please. Yeah.
Wade Underwood, 16157 Foothill Loop in the Sisters. I'm a business owner with Three Creeks. I was a former chamber board member, and I'm way behind on the DMO, but I came to sit in tonight to listen in a little bit, and I would just urge the council to move quickly. You can't run a business. You can't make rental decisions. You can't negotiate leases without not knowing when you're moving. And I would strongly encourage, even though there's some pushback, go through October. It's the biggest event the chamber runs. It's one of their biggest fundraisers. If they have trouble pulling off the harvest fair, you're just creating more havoc for that organization than needs to be imparted on them, in my opinion, right? You don't have an organization set up. You don't have a director hired, to my knowledge. I could be wrong about all these things. But hiring right now, let me tell you, is not easy. It may take you 6 months, it may take you a year to find a person that you want to work with. And in the lurch, the businesses in town that are chamber members will hopefully still be supported, but the TRT commitments may very well go unattended, right? So hopefully Judy and the group can get all of those things scheduled and the ads done to support us through the end of the year. But I don't want to see the community, the businesses, the hotels, the restaurants left in a lurch, because you're hoping for the best, which optimism's great, but I'm telling you right now, it's hard out there. And you should plan for doubling if you need to, but get the chamber through October would be my request. Make sure you honor all their commitments that they've contractually done, which I think is a given, but you never know. And then cut it end of October if that's what you want to do, but not before then. And respect your difficult decision, but from a business perspective, I think you're too optimistic about what you might be able to pull off. And if the community's left in a lurch, that's also your responsibility. So, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks
Good
for
luck.
speaking. All right. Is there any more?
There's not. No, we don't have our Zoom participant on.
Okay. All right, now the consent agenda. Would anybody like to make a motion?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Would anybody like to second?
I'll second that motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 And everybody said aye, so there's no nays. Consent agenda passed. On to council business. Purchase and sale agreement of East Portal. Staff report.
Woo-hoo.
I don't know anything about this.
What's this East Portal thing?
Yeah.
Is that like something
I
that
don't know
takes you
what
to
that
is.
another
Why is this being
dimension?
rushed
Maybe to
through?
Saturn or,
You all are in a lively mood.
Starship
I-
Enterprise?
Kick
I-
this
Spring
down
is
the road.
sprung, man.
Yeah.
Unless there's any new
Decade.
questions for myself or staff on what you heard during the Urban Renewal Agency meeting, we don't have anything to add. This is the other
The other
half, yeah,
other side.
so to speak, of approving the purchase and sale agreement between the Urban Renewal Agency and the city and the Forest Service.
All right, council, question or comments, anything? Like, we're excited about this. This is kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
It is a
I mean,
big
it's a
deal.
big deal, so it's awesome.
Just don't get sucked into the vortex.
No. I think the only thing I would add is that I am planning to meet with Sue tomorrow morning and hoping to have a pretty in-depth article about this in next week's edition of the Nugget, as well as a press release going out at some point heading towards that date if any of the other regional media would like to pick it up and cover the story as well.
Okay, got anything?
Just happy we're there.
Probably need a motion at this point, I don't know.
I move to approve a purchase and sale agreement between the United States Forest Service and the City of Sisters for the purchase of the East Portal property in the amount of $675,000, subject to legal revisions, and to authorize the city manager to execute the agreement.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And everybody said aye, so there's no nays. All right, good job. The second item is discussion and consideration of resolution 2022-07. A resolution of the City of Sisters authorizing an interfund loan of up to $760,000 from the general fund to the Sisters Urban Renewal Agency. It says O'Neill. There he is.
Yes, here I am. Thank you.
What is this about?
As my biology teacher in high school used to say, this is the same song, second verse. So this agenda item is basically the same as the one I presented in the urban renewal meeting. And obviously, this is the other side of that transfer transaction. Obviously, like I spoke of before, the general fund will loan the project fund the monies that are listed here, and then the debt service fund will pay the general fund in whole. And that will happen simultaneously. So,
You
and
have
Carrie,
a graphic to show us.
I know in Carrie's graphic, we can go over that again.
I'll send you a signed copy.
I think I got it in my head.
I think we should each get one framed at this point.
Yeah. So that's all I have, unless
Yeah,
you
do you have,
all have
anybody
any
have any
questions for me.
questions or further comments about it? I think I understand the URA finally. It's taken me, about 3 or 4 years, so good for me.
It would be better if you could have cloned yourself and we could have had
Or two, that would have been good.
little
Maybe
puff
just
of
like a
smoke in
different color
between.
green
Yep.
shirt or something.
Yep.
All right, thanks, Joe. Appreciate
Okay,
your
thank you.
hard work on the
Yeah.
backside of this. Sounds like we need a motion or something.
I move to approve and adopt resolution 2022-07.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And everybody said
Definite.
aye, so everybody said aye. Sorry, I was a little late there. Well, that's good. Do we own it yet? Do we have it?
Are we sending checks?
No. Excuse me. On to other business. First item is discussion of the Barclay Park mural.
So as the staff report outlines in the packet, we were approached a few months ago about an opportunity by a couple local artists. When I say local, Central Oregon artists, through some Travel Oregon funds that had flowed through Visit Central Oregon to participate in some themed murals that they've done in some of the other Central Oregon communities. And they were, this greetings from, fill in the community name theme. And so they identified the potential location of the south side of the public restroom building at Barclay Park. We thought that made a lot of sense for a variety of reasons. And then, they put together the draft sketch. We took it to the Parks Board earlier this month, I think it was actually, and then got some feedback and had them revise it slightly based on a little bit of the comments, but not significantly. And all of them, and I know the link was in the staff report for looking at some of the other murals. They all have this kind of natural, whimsical theme. So there wasn't a lot of artistic license that we wanted or needed necessarily to provide input on. But nonetheless, Parks Board felt good about it. We got feedback. Here's their revised version. They're eager to get going on it. They'd like to do it next month and have it installed prior to Memorial Day and the summer season. So if there's any questions, let us know. It's before you, given the art policy that we had worked on, a couple years ago at this point, in terms of accepting this into the public art collection and domain. So any questions for staff?
So it's hours after it's done, and we would be required to maintain and update or get rid of it. It's ours.
Yes.
How much does it cost?
Nothing. We've put in some staff time to coordinate with them, but beyond that, everything they've shared is the materials, their time, and even the installation is all on their end, I believe. The installation part's the only part I'm not sure of, but I'm 95% sure that they will do that as well.
How do we feel about that?
I'm good, yeah. The only conversation we had was, well, we should probably, paint that wall before they install it. But beyond that, no, I mean, they have a system that they've used in these other communities that works really well. They do the murals on these panels, these specialized panels. And so I'm trusting that, they have all the proper bracing equipment to be able to put them on there. And then, they turn the keys over to us. And if we ever want to move it or need to for whatever reason down the road, we could do that as well. So it won't actually be painted on the side of the building.
I had a detour through Maupin not too long ago and saw their mural as I was driving through, and it's really well done. It's very nice. The colors are vivid. It's, as Corey said, it's the whimsical theme. And I'd asked Greg Willits about the marketing that Travel Oregon was using and who it appealed to, and he says it's the younger traveler. And so it's appropriate for all ages, but I definitely see that hitting, the 20-some-year-old that's van camping. And
it's going to be a selfie van for sure.
Yeah,
Which we've been lacking. We have no.
Well, we have the art on the side of which I see people taking selfies in front of a lot on the side of the Habitat building.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah, and there's
We
a
need
nice
more of
mural
this,
on the
not-
Cottonwood Cafe.
They-
And this is just every town that has any sort of tourism needs to have something like this. And the irony of this town is that we do have welcome to sister signs and stuff, but they're in odd places that you can't easily get to. We have a lot of artwork, but again, they're in kind of locations where they're not very approachable.
Can't stop in the roundabout and get up.
Yeah,
to
exactly. And we need something that is click-worthy, selfie-worthy. I do it when I go to other towns and I see it, and prop the kid next to, the sign and.
We were here.
For posting or not. Vegas has taken their famous Vegas sign, welcome to Vegas, those Starburst mid-century thing. And, it used to be just in the middle of the road, and they built out the median so that there's a nice crosswalk to the median, because it got to be such an attraction that they didn't want anybody to get run over. But they saw it as this is free advertising. And so,
Somebody
they
gets
took
run over
advantage
in
of it.
Barclay Park, we're really in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, unfortunate thing is
Yeah.
it
This is-
isn't really highly visible, but hopefully we'll make it more of a destination.
I would echo what Nancy said. I've seen at least 3 of these around the state. First one I saw, I said, we should have something like that in Sisters. I really did. That went through my mind. I didn't realize at that point in time that it was a Travel Oregon funded sort of a thing. And I think it's a great addition. As long as Paul tells me that it's not going to create a lot of extra work for his staff, I'm 100% behind it. And I say, let's go for it.
And let's do more, I think, there's probably 2 or 3 really good opportunities on some prominent buildings around town.
Yeah, this is kind of the second year in a row now that we've had an opportunity present itself, and we've worked to facilitate a mural getting done. With the 75th anniversary celebration, the historical one on the side of the Habitat building last year. So yeah, organically, but also with some facilitation, getting these projects going is good for sure. The only part I'd just clarify, I don't need to do this, but I feel like taking a minute on it is appropriate. In the staff report, mentioned doing some Barclay Park upgrades this spring, park landscaping and irrigation. We're pausing that briefly. We're gonna do our best to bring the grass back where it used to be underneath the pine trees on the south side of the park. But partly because we're updating the park's master plan, and just because of the amount of land we have there and the strategic location, we really feel that we should down the road have a conversation about how could we improve that park, and what should it look like. Should we add amenities to it? Should we completely redo half of it or most of it? We're not going to decide that in the next month and make any of those improvements, but just to say, hey, let's not invest money in that in the short term if we feel that we might be having that conversation in the next 6 months or a year. So just a slight clarification from the staff report.
Okay.
And when this is done, it will be included in the Travel Oregon Murals Trail website.
Oh, nice.
If you go there, they have a website, and it shows there's one for Pendleton, Yahats, Hatchets, as I like to say to annoy people who live there, Forest Grove, Oregon is Magic, that's one's in Roseburg. So I assume that these will be a part of the mural trail. Maybe they won't, but it's one of the things that they've sponsored. So
Cool.
And maybe I'm incorrect because it is Oregon is Magic. I don't know, but they could say Sisters is Magic.
Thanks for the update.
Did we have a head nod?
Do we have to have a head nod?
Yeah.
Yes.
Bobbleheads. We should have individual bobbleheads.
Bobbleheads.
You have little flags. Okay. I think we're good. You good? All right, everybody's good. Next item on the agenda is appointment for the Planning Commission. First of all, I want to apologize to the 5 wonderful candidates that we have that I wasn't able to make the interviews. I had some business come up and I couldn't do it, but other people were there. Who was there? It was Nancy.
Yes.
Do you want to give me a little?
I do.
Yeah.
The 5 people that applied were all wonderful. One of them is here tonight. It was a really good process. We talked about it afterwards, and Scott and Chris Converse and I and Matt interviewed, and we had set questions that I think we'll expand and add maybe 1 or 2, we decided, going forward for the next time there's an opening on the Planning Commission. Everyone was highly qualified, eager to volunteer to serve on a difficult committee that carries a lot of weight and clout and determines the destiny of the city. And so I was very thankful that we had people apply that were very qualified. In prior years, we had people who were afraid to apply, and we had vacancies that were, left unfilled for a long time. So the fact that it's a safe place to volunteer and we have community faith and trust that they want to be a part of something great and good going forward. So I salute everyone that applied. And we have a really good candidate, and we had 4 other highly qualified candidates too.
And I'll just follow that up by saying I was on the planning commission for a while back in 2009, 2010, in that time frame. And I'll sit here and tell you right now that was a much more difficult.
Yeah, don't let that out.
It's hard
They'll
work.
stop paying
We
us
don't,
big
no,
bucks.
you can't say that because we want people to
I
apply to
know.
those positions.
It's important though, so we need that. But I'm gonna go ahead and just let everybody know there's a 20-month term. And upon recommendation of the people that were actually in the interviews, I am here to appoint Vicki Hickman for a 20-month term to the Planning Commission. And for those people that didn't make it, I highly encourage people to try to find another position or wait for one on the one you want. This town we're all volunteers up here except for those guys over here. But we're volunteers, and the place wouldn't be the same without all of us, not just the 5 of us. So
The pay is tremendous. It's multiplied by 0, so you can put any number you want in front of it. And I would state that I know Vicki casually and in the neighborhood. I've had discussions with her. I think she's a good appointment. Didn't have a chance to chat with the other individual, so I can't make that same kind of a judgment. But I heard very clearly from Nancy and others that this was a real strong pool of candidates. And given the importance of the Planning Commission, given the things that are in front of us in the next several years, this probably is critical appointment as there is for this city. So thank you.
And if any of the other 4 candidates want to talk to any of us, we'd love to talk to you about other things that can be done, or if you just want to talk about, they just want to talk about the process, or we're all ears, right? So.
Yeah, I met somebody relatively new to town who is today that, had applied for something. I don't know what it was, but I didn't get it. And I was like, keep trying.
Believe me, there'll be an opportunity.
I was like, that's, sometimes nobody applies and sometimes you get 10 highly qualified candidates, and it makes it really hard. And it's not a reflection on you by any means. So
For all the budget committee positions
just
filled,
keep trying.
so we might have an opening on the budget committee. Probably one of the best places for anybody to start to really understand how this
Oh, wow,
town
yeah.
works. The budget committee. Well, I was considering puts the budget together, so yeah.
I give you a B++ myself. All right.
No, but seriously, that's probably whether you're looking to be on the committee or on this group. Or involved in high-level city decisions, the budget committee.
All right. On to the next item. Designate a counselor to the board for the Joint Office of Homelessness. It's got Corey's name on it, though. You want to start the conversation?
Sure. So, yeah, Carrie and I had a little fun with what all to put in the packet. We almost put, 10 different documents that, I don't know, might have totaled about 50 pages, but we decided not to do that. The one that we put in, we felt was really the best summarization of what we know to this point of what the pilot project that was approved through the legislature to create a number of joint offices around the state between different jurisdictions, counties and cities in particular. But for us, Deschutes County, City of Redmond, City of Bend, City of Lapine, and City of Sisters. So we're at the beginning stages of that. Councilor Conley and I listened in on a joint Bend City Council and Deschutes County Commissioner meeting where they were discussing some of these preliminary documents. That was maybe 2 weeks ago. It feels like longer, but I think it was really only 2 weeks. Somewhat helpful, but a lot of questions still. coming out of that. And so we're working with some City of Bend staff, as well as Deschutes County as it relates to some of these preliminary documents. But really to the point of this agenda item is getting one of you to serve in a capacity to be on that board. And it's a little bit of a choose your own adventure. So no, we don't know exactly how many meetings or exactly what the commitment is. The first meeting, actually informal meeting, would be between strategic projects manager, Mickey with City of Bend, and myself and whoever the rep is, to just kind of get briefed on the existing ecosystem, sometime in the next couple of weeks. And then beyond that, not sure exactly when the dates will pick up, but there's going to be a draft IGA that's going to be circulating soon. And we'll still be discussing quite a bit of this at the council collectively, but once this gets going, having that rep will be really important. So I can try to answer questions or try to get additional information as needed, but I think this is one of those ones that you just kind of have to go into it with a bit of an open mind, and we'll see where it goes as we work through it collectively.
I think it's a really important.
It's super important.
Super important. And so I would be willing to serve unless there is someone else who is real anxious to do it, but once again, don't really know when or where or how much. So there is a possibility that they pick something that doesn't work for me, but I'm not all that book. But what do you?
Oh, I think that I'm sure we'd all have interest in this. I think I'm a little close to tapped out on board memberships and time.
I know.
Unfortunately, I wish there was a few more hours in the day, but yeah, I mean, I'm okay if you're willing to keep running with it, then, and right, like you said, if it doesn't jive with your schedule, then we can always circle back and.
Yeah, once we know more about what it will actually entail.
We are a 5-speed, so we can shift gears if we have to.
And I feel like the mayor and Nancy are probably topped out.
Well, and Andrea, I'm happy to hear you speak up, because I had intended and had spoken to Corey about my interest in this as well, but given the reason I wasn't here 2 weeks ago and a lot of unanswered questions at this point in time, I think it would be inappropriate for me to take this when I might not be able to attend some of the meetings, especially the startup meetings. So it's yours, but keep me in the loop. I definitely want to know what's going on.
Oh yeah, hopefully I'll keep you all in the loop.
And the other small consideration is this is an election year, and you are going to be here next year, and the two of you for sure are going to be here, and the rest of us, there is no guarantee, right? So
we may all be in Hawaii.
Obviously, in January.
Not fair.
Obviously, in January, there's going to be new appointments, and it would be a time to change that.
Reevaluate, yeah.
So
perfect.
I think that that's a great idea. I mean, there's a part of me too that wants to jump in and do it, but I can let you do it, and then you're going to keep us up to date, and Corey's going to keep us up to date. So I'm more than willing to make it happen. So there you go. If you need a backup, or if you can't attend a meeting, I mean, I don't mind filling in. I do that for other reasons. So I did it for a regional EDCO meeting, which didn't go well because it was on Zoom. But I'm available. So if you need a backup and there's a meeting that just conflicts with your life, just let me know and I'll definitely fill in for you.
Okay.
Okay. Sounds good. Done? Staff comments. Joe.
Well, I don't have too much. I think Paul's got a couple of things, so I don't want to take his thunder away. But I did have a meeting with CIS Insurance. They typically come here every year, and we have kind of a best practices meeting. And one of the topics that we discussed, and it's a hot topic as of late, is cybersecurity. I've told you this before, it's becoming more difficult to insure. And they were trying to speak of some best practices that cities, especially as small as us, are conducting in order to minimize that exposure. And they were very happy that we have conducted a lot of these penetration testing outside by a third party, and a lot of these phishing campaigns and things like that. So she was kind of surprised that we'd kind of taken on those things. So thank you so much for supporting staff and allowing us to do that, because those are, kind of an extra expense, but knock on wood, I think those paid off, and we're not going to quit doing those, but I think it's something that we're going in the right direction for. Budget time, we're just meeting with staff and getting all the spreadsheets together and kind of strategizing on a lot of different items, and some of them take a lot more brainstorming than others, but it's a fun process. We've got a great team to help out in that respect, so we're looking forward to the budget meetings here soon. I think that's all I have, unless you guys have any questions for me.
Did the insurance folks say anything about wildfire and insuring for that? I mean, I know that's been obviously an issue in, private landowners or other companies. So I was just wondering if that's hitting the municipal world.
That is a great question. So they are actually going to be sending out some assessors to address any risks that public facilities here might have. And I know we're kind of already going through that practice, but they have to do it for their needs. So they didn't say anything specifically. Obviously, we are still covered, and to my knowledge, there's no class that the city is in as far as they're concerned that makes our rates higher than anybody else.
I got my letter yesterday.
Oh,
for my fire increase from State Farm. So
yeah,
apparently some of them are now starting to take a look at us. It was a significant increase.
Yeah, I used to use State Farm as well. Just on a side note, when we moved, I was not able to even get that insurance carrier to insure us, so we had to go elsewhere, which is interesting. So just a sign of the times, but I'll definitely follow up with you all on what that audit reflects. But and they've done that kind of study regularly, and as their best practice. I think they're supposed to do it every 5 to 10 years or something. So I think we've had pretty good results as far as our capacity to withstand some of those things. But there's a lot in the conversation, even remote servers and just resiliency in terms of some kind of catastrophic fire event with this building or other public buildings is, again, we've been talking about.
Which makes our fire mitigation work and prevention even more important, right?
Yep.
We take it serious around here, that's for sure, though. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Jerry?
Just a couple things. A reminder that the well number 4 ribbon cutting is next Thursday at 2:30 over by the well. And that June 21st is the date that was settled on. It's a Tuesday from 4 to 6 for the celebration with the Vision Group. And that will be at Creekside Park as well. And ballots were mailed today. So the ballot box will open on Friday. And ballots can be returned until May 17th. I think that's the right date. I believe it's May 17th, Tuesday.
And ballots got mailed yesterday or today?
They got mailed today.
Yeah, so people will get them tomorrow.
They will get them tomorrow. Yeah, correct. And that's all I have.
Any questions for Carrie?
Have the voters' guides gone out too?
Yeah,
I have. It went out last week.
I
It is
got
available
two, maybe that's why
online.
you didn't get one.
Yeah. Okay, I'll have to.
You needed
maybe-
extra guidance.
You can borrow mine, but
You marked in it. I want one that's pristine.
He drew
I put devil's tails on all the
he drew
politicians.
faces on all the pictures.
Horns and tails and things. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Carrie. Paul? Come on down.
So timing's everything. We actually are getting our Mobility Hub RFP move ahead. So that's exciting. We're excited about it. We've gotten inquiries all the way to, the Rocky Mountains, Colorado. So we're excited to see who shows up. And then we'll go through a proposal scoring process, and just wanted to ask who would like to
When do you want to review those? Probably,
Within the next 2 weeks.
yeah, so
Yeah.
maybe,
Yep.
or even the first part of the
So I'm
following
out.
week.
Yep.
So,
So there's all four of us want to do it.
Go for it. I think you should do rock, paper, scissors.
Actually, the next couple of weeks are really busy for me, so that's, go ahead, you guys.
Then there were 3.
I'm going to use my authority and say I want to do it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And I'm gonna vote you out.
I don't think
You're gonna get a different buff, and sorry, but that's okay.
No, I've never done one of those. I want to do it.
Yeah, they're fun. I've done a number of them. They're actually
Okay, then
quite
you
fun
don't
to do.
get, then so you just put yourself.
Yeah, no,
So you're
seriously.
down to 2.
Yep.
Because I
You
don't
okay
think
with
you
me
get
doing
to appoint yourself.
Or is
You
it?
need 1 or 2, or
okay, pick a number between, no, I'm kidding.
Can 2 of them?
We usually just do one. I mean,
You want to really do it?
oh, I mean, if you want to. And the only thing is that I was, I'm on the COIC board, so there's that transportation
yeah.
link there, but I don't have to.
I think. She's in.
Jennifer wins.
Jennifer wins.
We'll be bringing a contract back to you all with the scope of work and a lot of fun things to think about, and then
Next
we'll
time-
actually start the project, and then you
Next
can
time
get
when
really
you're doing one of
excited.
those little, pointy wheels or thing, you kind of give it a spin
Yeah.
and it comes around the room.
Well, normally we don't have everybody
I
that
know
wants to do
it.
it.
By the way, when we get a mobility hub, I want a bunch of those adult-size big wheels that you can rent. We can drive around town on.
No, those are banned.
Wow.
They're not banned.
Yeah, those are banned.
Okay. Anyway,
okay, great. Thank
you
you.
got Jennifer.
Plenty is kicking off. We mapped out the south side. We got it over to our traffic engineer. He's gonna look at it, and when he gives thumbs up, our crew will go out and start planning the sign bases, and we'll get all those done. And then we'll, in a mass effort, try to get all of them out in one day. So then Chad and his crew know that enforcement can happen and it's consistent. So
Nice.
we're looking the next couple weeks to get that work done, weather depending. And also, just workload depending.
Oh, will we get signs on Locust and Tyee? I've had that question from more than one resident.
You will.
Since there's no speed sign currently on Locust.
So remember, this is for residential local roads only, not collectors. And Locust is a collector up to Jefferson. So from the north to Jefferson, but from Jefferson south, it's
Right.
a local, so that'll be 20 miles
That's
per
really
hour.
where the questions have been coming, or folks in the neighborhood back.
And then the rest of that gets 20 miles an hour. Yeah.
So the main thing is signage, because there hasn't.
We have to post signage at entrance and exit of every street segment.
Do you remember offhand how, we're talking a lot of signs.
South side is 50.
I wouldn't doubt it.
North side will be north of that.
So you'll see lots of signs.
Yeah.
Well, excellent. And I actually.
Only
have some-
we wrote a song about that.
It's a pretty good sized effort.
Yeah,
to do it,
resident
so.
of Tyee cornered me and wanted to know,
Sure.
we're gonna get a speed sign finally.
It wasn't me.
It wasn't me.
It was, no, it wasn't you.
And even if you
It was
wouldn't
the other Tyee.
And these are nice big signs, 24 by 30. You can't miss it.
Good.
Perfect.
Yay.
No, I was gonna say, even if you didn't mention that, I was gonna ask Paul how many signs, because we had talked about that sometime in the last couple of weeks, and you look at the map, you look at the street grid, and then you look at where all the signs are going, and you're like, wow.
And
that's
in
pretty
terms
lit
of
up.
the 20th plan, this is a different one. It's probably a state because it's on 20, but that sign coming into town from the roundabout is kind of obscured by trees and is fairly faded.
I've mentioned that to ODOT a few
Okay,
times.
yeah,
and
all right, because I knew it was an ODOT issue.
I will continue
Thank you.
to do that.
Thank you.
I want to go out there and replace it myself, but I know I'll get caught. So
We'll cover for you.
Yeah, we'll stand in front of you while you're doing
if
it.
you guys got bail money.
We'll take a blanket.
Don't we know the sheriff's deputies? Who are they gonna call?
So our solar project is moving along great. All the racking is almost done. And then they'll start throwing up panels, and the electrician showed up today. So wiring has started. So we're hoping, by the mid to late May, they'll be on board and making energy.
I saw the van drive by on my way to school this morning, and I was like, oh, who's getting solar?
It's
Us.
Yeah, we got 4 stacks of panels probably this high. So it'll be pretty cool. Yeah. I was just doing budget numbers for Joe, and I dropped our electricity number for the first time ever. at the treatment plant.
Well, and to give you a sense, the small installation on my house, which is tree shading and everything else, I got 41% of my energy usage from that yesterday.
Nice.
Or today, excuse me, today. It wasn't even that sunny. So I expect you're really going to see some big gains out there.
Yep, we're excited for it. Absolutely.
If the electricity number goes down, you're gonna break his spreadsheet.
Yeah.
It's gonna go, what? It's gonna go, what? Red numbers? What is that?
That's a big electric bill number or two.
Yeah, I know.
Absolutely. Our new street sweeper showed up today, safe and sound, that made the trip up from California. You will see one of our guys in it tomorrow morning,
At 5:45.
probably earlier.
So 97's clean all the way, because you drove it all the way up? No.
It was a feat getting it off the truck, that's for
Was
sure.
it in a box truck, a big trailer?
No, it's a step down.
I was gonna say, because a trailer went by
trailer.
the house the other day, and I'm thinking, what's that guy doing up here, big van, so.
So we actually had to
Tractor
dig a pit for it to back into and build a ramp and do this while we were backing it off. Yeah, it worked out great. And the last thing I had, wildfire mitigation on the buffer strip behind Coyote Springs and Five Pine will begin in the next couple of weeks. We'll have our crews out there doing the lighter work, not so much the commercial thin. The commercial thin will likely end up happening in the fall, winter next year. So you'll see budgetary numbers for that type of work. But we're gonna go ahead and get a jump on the smaller stuff, ladder fuels that will make a difference. And we will communicate that with the HOAs, and we've met with the HOAs, we've met with Five Pine, and everybody's on board and stuff. That work will be started.
Gonna kick up some dust?
Try not to, try to do it right when we got the rain, so. Oh, one other thing, I'm sure you'll hear about it, but I got contacted today by the Forest Service. They have a couple prescribed burns out off of Edgington, all the way down to 242.
Oh.
So we'll be managing traffic on McKinney Butte while they're doing that. ODOT will be managing and flagging traffic on 242. They're hoping to do that in mid-May, if weather allows them to, and there'll be, sounds like a coordination meeting or two before that.
Between Edgington and Crossroads, basically that space in there,
Just, it's
part of that?
Elk Ranch on that side of Edgington as well as on the other side.
Wow.
So I haven't seen the map yet. I just got notified.
And I also got noticed that the elimination at the 12620 interchange down here from ODOT that next week, I think.
Yeah, and
There'll be
all the way
traffic.
out to, yeah, probably.
Subtle.
Well, Camp Polk at least.
Yep.
Yep. So get rid of some dead trees and get them before the wind blows them over.
All right, anybody have any questions for Paul?
Speaking of the alleyway behind Barclay Park, and the parking behind the Pony Express, one of those parking spaces has a huge sinkhole in it. And there's nothing in there to indicate you shouldn't pull right in there. Shouldn't they be required to put a cone or something in there so that somebody doesn't pull in there?
They should have one there. I will let them know.
Oh, yeah,
I
I
know
just
that-
walked by there and I went, my God, you could.
A large ponderosa got taken out years back right there, and so that's what's happening.
Yeah, it's sinking in. And it used to be just clunky. Well, now it's just a huge hole.
That explains why 3 people in smart cars are missing from.
Yeah. Yeah,
No, I will stop by and let them know.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's scary.
Do you want to talk at all about
Lesser rock.
that you and the team made with the sewer line issue, or not necessarily? You don't have to.
So this will show up when we bring you our wastewater plan, master plan update as a project. But we have a subdivision in town, Creekside. It's Creekside subdivision over on Creekside. There's about 20 houses there, and they are on a pressure sewer system that was put in back in, I want to say 99, before I got here. It's the only pressure sewer system we got in town. So each house has a little ejector tank or a tank, goes out into the main line in the street, and each time a pump turns on, it moves it just a little bit farther down the road, under the creek and over to East Cascade, where it dumps into one of our manholes. So we've fought this thing for years. We're out there flushing it, every 2 weeks. It's part of our schedule. You have to do that with these type of systems. So the project that we're looking at is to transition that to a gravity system with a larger pump station, and we would like to reverse the flow and actually flow it back towards the cul-de-sac, put the pump station down in the cul-de-sac, and then have it pump across under 126 and dump into an 8-inch line that we have over by the RV park that goes under the highway already and dumps into the 5-line pump station. So it removes all the pressure lines, removes the creek crossing that I worry about, because those little 1-horse ejector pumps don't pump a lot of gallons. So the solids settle out. And so we had a mainline plug, and those are as fun as you can imagine. So when we found it, it was literally just a section of pipe stuck full with eggshells and grease. And over 23 years, that pipe just went like this and then finally closed off. So good thing is we had everybody, we took care of everybody. We actually had a septic pumper come in on Sunday and pump everybody's tanks so they could still function overnight. And then we were, on a Monday morning, and he actually pumped them again Monday morning after the initial shower rush. And then we got them back online about 2 o'clock. So, but it's not going to be cheap, but it's absolutely necessary because we have a problem under the creek. It's not good.
We don't want that.
No.
Just one of those things you don't hear about, swift response and taking care of it, but also thinking long-term in terms of capital investment and addressing some of these operations and maintenance and replacement projects that are really critical. So,
well, it's an environmental issue that you got to worry about. So.
Yeah, the good thing is we only have one of these systems. City of Bend has thousands, so yeah, we're lucky.
20 homes, quarter mil.
Oh, let's not estimate. Yeah.
Okay. Just wondering.
Hey, you said thumbs up, like you were right.
Yeah.
I didn't say anything.
Yeah. No,
Some architects I know are very scary.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. Scott. No, don't need the laptop.
Nothing as exciting as Paul has to offer.
Eggshells and grease?
I'd like to go before him in the future.
That's right.
Just want to reiterate what Council President Connolly mentioned about the Planning Commission. It was a good process, and we're thankful we had so many good applicants, a couple of which are ones here today and one on the call. So we just let them know that we'll probably at the end of the year, Carrie usually puts out a call for commission vacancies. So there will be quite a few. Well, we assume that there will be some opportunities at that time, and we would encourage them to reapply at that time. Also thank Chris Converse for volunteering her time as well. So thank you very much. We had a work session with the Planning Commission last week on the efficiency measures in the housing plan. So that's continuing to move along. We're planning to have that be one of the topics of conversation at the joint meeting, joint Planning Commission and Council meeting, June 16th, which is their normally scheduled meeting. So it'll be a great opportunity to talk about some big threshold items that we want to get direction on and make sure that we're moving along in accordance with the way the Planning Commission and the Council want to see things move along. So I'm excited for that meeting. That should be a great discussion. Also, the Planning Commission approved a couple text amendments. One was on the temporary use permits that we discussed with Council with the setback. as well as the storage requirements that we reviewed with you, and had a good discussion with the Planning Commission, but they ultimately approved things, and those will be coming to you guys May 11th for consideration. Jacob Smith, our code compliance officer, is getting out and making his presence known and probably making a few friends here and there in the community, but doing good and getting out there, and also taking a look at our process in terms of changes and tweaks that he thinks need to be made to make his job, make him be more nimble and be able to respond to things. And so we'll have a work session coming up soon on the 11th as well to discuss some of those changes that he's in terms of municipal code changes. And so that's going along well, and I think that's basically it.
Quick comment?
Yeah.
You forwarded us, and I appreciate very much the packet 2 weeks ago that was going to Planning Commission with the efficiency / measures. And I know that, you know, sometime in the next month or beyond, we're going to be looking at some of the dark sky things. At least that's what I kind of have heard in my state. I wasn't following very well that night. And so I'd like to request the same, that we have a chance to see that before it goes to the Planning Commission, when you're sending that forward to them for consideration.
Oh, the packet?
Yeah.
Yeah, you betcha. You betcha. Yeah. That's scheduled to go May 19th.
Yeah, I kind of have caught a date, and then I didn't follow after that.
Yeah, we'll make sure you get copied on that.
Thank you.
Yep.
And for clarity, meeting or in some communication, but with the work and the code compliance officers doing, and there was something about vehicles and the vehicle situation being, you know, still more of the jurisdiction of law enforcement. But is that, just for clarification, is that vehicles on private property or is that vehicles on property? I'm not quite sure. And like, I'm sure we haven't combed through the code, but I'm sure we have something about, you know, abandoned vehicles on property versus public property.
For vehicles in the right of way, that's where we're sending them over to the police department, because Jacob doesn't have the ability to call up registration to know who owns the vehicle. You can't just assume because it's parked in front of somebody's house that it actually belongs to them. So the police department has that ability. So those kinds of things we would be sending over. Debris stored in the right of way, things like that. Jacob would continue to respond to those items, and vehicles, abandoned vehicles on the property, which you can more tie to. Good question, though. Yeah. We're working on trying to come up with a matrix of here's the different types of potential code violations and who's responsible for that, so that those lines of demarcation are pretty clear. And you know, we may even put that on the website so that when people call in, you know, they know who's responsible. We'll still get calls, and if we get them in City Hall, we still can forward them out to the police department and vice versa. But yeah, thank you.
There's certainly some public education that necessary with this new position too. You know? So.
Yeah, on that note, we're going to start shifting into weed and wildfire concerns, you know, education, making sure that we get the property owners that are most commonly the common offenders with big parcels that let weeds get high. And then once, you know, if we contacted them in June or July, sometimes with the way contractors are these days, it takes a long time to get them to respond. So we're trying to contact them early so that they can get on those contractors lists to make sure it's done before the fire danger season. And then noxious weeds is another one that we'll do some education on, and is a personal interest to Jacob. So I think he hates noxious weeds. So.
And please ignore my stack of wood next to the house that I have piled up 10 feet high with newspapers all around it. So
and oil rags too.
So.
And candles.
Yeah, candles. Any other questions? All right, thank you.
All right, thanks.
Corey.
Yeah, only part I'd add on the code compliance conversation is, in my mind, I'm thinking of, I mean, we're diving into a variety of things right off the bat, as Scott mentioned, but I really think it's probably going to be about a year going through all the seasons of addressing all the different topics, making code amendments, doing outreach, and I think that next spring, I think we'll really be looking at a pretty well-oiled code compliance machine. So anyway, I just, it's good to keep asking questions. It's good to keep educating, but we are working a lot on that. We're going to continue to keep working on that, and it's going to take some time.
Are there any base documents that we probably don't have yet that we might create, like policy or, is that part of the municipal code updates that you're talking about?
Yeah. I mean, some of it's legal authority and clarity around procedures. When you have to get to the point of issuing a citation, it's one thing to call and ask someone to do something, but it's another thing to move towards, legal proceedings or citation. So yeah, we definitely need to adjust some of that, and that's what Scott was alluding to, coming before you all for a workshop next month, first meeting. But then in terms of, forms and internal procedures and things like that, we have that, but I think just, again, looking at it with fresh eyes and thinking about, how we want to structure that system, it's all going to take a little bit of time as we really build that out more formally.
As I was listening to Scott speak and what you just said now, I'm thinking about, not just weeds, I hadn't really thought about that, or tall grass in some of the fields and stuff. There may be an opportunity as this kind of gets some direction. And I mean, as we get a better sense of what's going on and where the issues are in the community, maybe every quarter in the Nugget, there's sort of a page of, these are the things that you might have around your house that you weren't aware were code violations. As you go into the summer, be sure if you've got a field that the grass is mowed down, or some of those things that would prevent our code compliance officer from having to have a visit and then having somebody look at him and say, I didn't know I couldn't do that, and then struggle to try to find someone to do the work that needs to be done when it might have been able to be handled when it was shorter or not as dry or whatever the case may be. So it may be that's just sort of a summer, spring, fall thing that we do in one of our city pages in the Nugget that's kind of a did you know type of a thing. Just a thought.
Yeah, outreach and education. There's going to be a lot of that. But I think more than anything on the back end is going to be not giving ample time and seeking voluntary compliance.
Right.
But at the same time, if we're approaching 100-degree weather and someone hasn't cut the tall grass that they need to cut in the last week of July, we're not going to just say, well, shoot, we asked them 5 times and they weren't able to do it, so let's cross our fingers and hold our breath that everything's okay. We're going to go out and do it ourselves.
Yep.
And then we're going to send them a bill. And so that is with proper code language and authority and all that jazz. But my point is, those are the types of things, we need the tools in the toolbox, and communication is a big tool. That's the first tool, that's the second tool, but you need those other tools too when the time comes.
No doubt.
And we'll do it all respectfully and all, above board, et cetera, but that's the new, I don't want to say attitude, but approach to making sure that we're getting code compliance. So a lot to come on that. I think that whether it's kind of a revised city newsletter a few months from now in the new fiscal year, or working with the Nugget, or both, I think there will be lots of opportunity to communicate about education and awareness of code compliance that needs to get done and that is happening. So.
Okay. Oh yeah.
The only other comment I really had, other than just supporting the team and all the good projects we have going on and the great work that they're doing, is around kind of the follow-up from the joint meeting we had with the fire district. And, we talked about kind of getting going these quarterly coordination meetings with different, key partners, ODF and Forest Service and county and city and fire district, et cetera. And so Matt Martin, our principal planner, is going to take the lead on being kind of the convener of that group, working with the fire district. And so I think we're aiming for kind of the third week in May to get that first one going, before we get into Memorial Day and past Memorial Day, I should say. So, TBD as to what comes out of that, but I think just getting those organized and building that a little more formalized coordination will be an important step. And then obviously Paul alluded to the work that we're doing in the short term around, our planning and some of our wildfire threat reduction efforts. So working on that as well. And then Lieutenant Davis alluded to it. I don't need to add too much to it, but we had 15 people at the meeting that he referenced that we were both in earlier this afternoon, just around houseless outreach and coordination. So I think we had 6 or 7 Forest Service there. We had 5 folks from the Sheriff's Office. We had the 2 new staff members with Deschutes County Public Health. And then myself. And so it was great to hear and see all the coordination that already exists and all the ideas around more coordination, whether that's around obviously helping people and getting them connected to resources, whether that's dealing with potential challenging situations, whether that's being mindful of wildfire, of fire that could turn into wildfire. As a threat, whether that's for warmth or for cooking, people need those. So, just education and awareness about how to do that and so on and so forth. So it was a great meeting. And, I think that those types of meetings and those types of stories need to be told to the community about all the effort that is going into that work. And, we didn't have Don Cooper at the table or advocates in the community who support the homeless networking group or other efforts, cold weather shelters, so on and so forth. So there are a lot of people doing a lot of things as it relates to this topic. And then obviously the conversation we had about the joint office earlier and where that's going to go. So a lot more conversation to come down the road and coordination, but very encouraged. And, it felt good on behalf of all of us to just be sitting there and say, well, 2-3 years ago, we didn't have these 4 sheriff's team members, and we didn't have those 2 public health employees, and either directly or indirectly, we funded or lobbied to have funded those positions. So I think there's a lot of value in the work that we've done to support those efforts, not just around houselessness and outreach across the board. So anyway, it was a good meeting. And, I'm encouraged to kind of have more coordination meetings, sort of like with the wildfire piece as well, with that group and those conversations moving forward. If there's any questions on any topics, just let me know.
All right, any other questions, comments? Okay. Mayor, council, business. Who wants to go first? Yes.
I have nothing.
You got nothing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Other than saying thank you for the card and the kind thoughts. It's been a roller coaster 2 weeks, so a few more like that, but doing all right. Thank you.
All right, let me know if I can do anything.
Appreciate it.
Personally, not.
No, yeah, I don't. Thank you.
Jennifer?
Just skimming through my calendar to see if I was in any meetings. I met with Eric Strobel for a couple hours last week. We had a really great conversation. He's just, with EDCO, he's just hit the ground running here, which he's only really funded for 2 days a week, honestly, so that's a lot of running. But he sounds like he is just really excited to be here and getting out and meeting a lot of people and getting a pulse in the community. So it was a really positive discussion. We swapped ideas and hopes and dreams and all that kind of good stuff. So so far so good there. And just I did hear through odd channels, but I did hear that the county commissioners did pass the CPACE ordinance. I don't know the details of that, of how they're going to handle that, but, you know, I did hear from Paula Latazzo, who was the one kind of communicating with most of us about that issue, that she said she's already talking to somebody in the Sisters community who's interested in using that for some sort of project already. So glad to hear that too. So I don't know what that is, but I thought that was good news. And she thanked me and the entire council for our support in that. So I'm passing that on. That's it.
That's it.
Good job.
It's going to be interesting to see how we utilize EDCO again, you know, moving forward. There's plenty of opportunity. It's kind of it's a wilderness again, you know, so who knows, right?
Yeah.
You know what you're gonna find when you break out into a clearing.
Yeah, awesome. Andrea?
The last COAC meeting, everything's in alignment for the roundabout to happen. I don't see that there's going to be any cogs in the wheel, you know, until you have the final say. You don't know for sure. So fingers crossed that, you know, in 2024 maybe we'll get something going. There's lots and lots of money coming to the state for all kinds of things, and they're explaining different new categories. One of them is called Great Streets. That everything is channeled into different funds, and each fund, of course, can be used for certain things and not for other things. And this is a new category. And they actually use Sisters as an example. They said, well, like the project in Sisters, it's where the state highway goes through a small community, the center of a small community, and how we can, you know, work on that. So I thought that was interesting that they still use us as a good example.
Maybe it's some opportunities to do them.
Yeah, and I kind of thought, well, you know, once we get the Woodlands end and we got the east portal into a multimodal, that street right there is gonna.
Thinking an elevated roadway.
Well, yeah,
The downtown core is a walking mall.
I can't support you on that one, sorry.
Yeah, unfortunately, ODOT probably wouldn't go for that. But anyway, there's some interesting funding out there that I'm gonna keep an eye on and see if anything we're doing kind of fits into that. So you just hate when you see all the different pockets of money going around. And okay, what have we got that might fit into that niche? Because if it isn't already planned and in the transportation plan and in the, you know, everything, it's too late practically. So that's always so frustrating. That's why it's so important when we do these plans that we get almost any realistic idea that we have, get it in the plan, because you never know when something is going to come down the pike and you can't move because it's not in your plan. And some small cities like Metolius and Culver and places like that are hit hard with that kind of stuff. They go, well, you know, because do they even have a transportation plan? I don't know, but a lot of times, you know, they spontaneously come up with ideas and they can't do anything for them that quickly. So it's important that we do those plans. What was the other thing I was gonna? Oh, I wanted to mention that I don't know how you all feel, but when we start getting into the ideas for how we want to implement housing that will be new and innovative and affordable, that I like to see examples of things. And I think that we need to have great pictures, or we need to do road trips.
Road trip.
Yeah, because, yeah, I think then we'll have a lot of the options that are going to be proposed to us. They will have examples of a lot of those kinds of options. And until you actually see how it looks in a neighborhood next to other buildings and stuff, it seems on paper it can sound good, but then it just doesn't doesn't fit. So visuals are really important to me when we get to that stage of making those kind of decisions. I was looking at the little cottages over here and I said, ooh, a little affordable housing or veterans housing, or, is that, how many square feet is that?
It's a model, even though they're looking at it as an inn, a place where you
Right.
come and stay. It's a model that could be easily applicable to a lot of a similar size for something exactly what you were talking about.
Right. Yeah.
That's a good point.
It doesn't have to look unattractive.
It's a good point of due diligence. It's one thing to see it in a sketched out or brand new, but to go see something was built 5 or 10 years ago and has been well lived in, and you can, how many cars are parked out on the street, or where are people putting their stuff because they don't have, the storage conversation we had, previously. So,
very true.
Yeah, the master plans can look very, very beautiful, but in reality,
Those cute little trees they put in.
yeah. And Scott Wooford can take care of that for us. Did you see that article in the paper?
As long as he doesn't drive, I'm okay with that.
All right, anything else? I guess I'm last. Coco, one of the interesting notes I got from Doug Riggs, our lobbyist, up to 40% of the state legislators in the House are going to be new. So we're going to come into some uncharted territory from the state, and I don't know if that's good or bad. It's just a reality. There's going to be a lot of new people there. There's going to be changes, and I think it's predicted that the supermajority is going to go away, which may be good, maybe not. Maybe, I don't know. Depends on who you are. Second thing, that's just kind of a one thing. We're always talking about water in that group as well. I'm on the water subcommittee, and if I get anything good out of that, I'll let you know. I think I did. I think I mentioned junipers last time, so I don't need to bring that up again. Second thing is Easter Sunday. I was at the park with the fire district. That was the best egg hunt ever, man. So I just thought it was cool. I'm glad to see us partnering with the district to do something, a community event like that. There were kids from Pine. I talked to families that heard about it because Bend ended up not doing theirs, and they just ran up. They ran to get here to do ours, and that's the kind of partnership that I'm all for, and I'd like to encourage us to continue to do. It was
And
amazing.
The playground was a hit.
Oh,
I heard kids on that playground hours after the egg hunt was done. Having
It's
fun.
been discovered
So
now.
You were the grumpy man going, "You kids get off my yard." Is that you?
No. I had pepper spray.
So I just walked around a little and helped clean up a little, but the fire district and all their volunteers was awesome. And I think when they all left, you couldn't tell that anything happened.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was over there walking around when they were putting the eggs out, giving them a hard time because none of them had bunny hats or anything on there. And I asked the chief, I said, well, it's segregated by age? Yeah, and I said, well, where's my age group? There was this long pause.
And I don't think people realize how much planning and work goes into that. It's not something you just kind of decide you're going to do on Saturday and do it on Sunday. There's a lot of work ahead of time. When we did it at Willamette, the mega hunt out at one of our parks, and we had 3,000 kids, and you ran them in shifts, and then people had to go up between shifts and put more eggs out for the next shift. It's not easy, and I give credit to anybody who does that and pulls it off well. And I agree, the park looked perfect afterwards.
And it didn't hurt my sweet tooth at all either. So that was good. But that's all I have. So thank you, everybody. Meeting adjourned. 8 o'clock.
You.